Levy. He talked to the media starting at 12 o'clock, so he talked for a half hour and addressed a variety of subjects. And what was your takeaway, Goo?
I'm going to be honest, Steiny. That's your line. I think he really feels like that team was more of the 27-12. And because of the Draymond suspension and other things, I'm not speaking for him, but he feels like it was kind of a fluke that they're not in the playoffs. I'll say that. How about that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I heard him say everything.
Well, he did.
I mean, and
he said he's not going to overreact to that game. That kind of basketball bothers me, but it's kind of what you said, Goo, it's one game.
But he also said, we knew the season was going to end in disappointment. So that tells me they didn't think they were going to make a run. Like, they knew they weren't going to be able to make a run. I mean, to me, just having covered Mike Dunleavy as a player for a bunch of his career, like, he knows how to play this game. And he left every option, thank you, he left every option open. And he said a lot of nothing, really.
No doubt. I got you.
I mean, we need to get better. We need to get better. We got to get better. We want Clay back, too. We want Kuminga re-signed also. And there's a viable way to bring Chris Paul back. I mean, no, we don't believe that. Come on. Yeah. We don't. Nobody believes that they're going to bring those three guys back. I don't believe.
How much do you listen to his final press conference this year with last year's tone about Jordan Poole's future in mind?
Yeah.
He said all the right things last year, too, and then he made the moves he needed to make.
Yeah, I mean, other than it making me smile, I didn't think much about it in terms of Dunleavy saying, well, Jordan Poole, we hope is going to be around for a long, long time or forever. Or we wanted to retire a Warrior or whatever. And then he was traded a short time later. To me, that's just kind of what GMs do. And that's kind of what he did. He set it all up. He said if Clay walks, he allowed for that. If Chris Paul comes back, he allowed for that. If they don't extend Jonathan Kuminga this offseason, that was part of that was under the umbrella too. So he covered all his bases.
Yeah, no, he did.
And he made sure not to offend anybody. And I don't know how much I believe him.
Yeah, Donnie, right. You know, he was presidential. But I will say this: what about the question about how the offenses ran? Could you ever see a scenario where the Warriors change what they try to do offensively because of age and attrition?
Well, what should they change from and into?
Take Curry off the ball?
I mean, to me, he's been playing half on, half off the last couple of years anyway.
So no big deal there. Cause
I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what that means, to tell you the truth. Because when I look at the Warriors, I look at a team that tries to utilize ball movement and player movement. And then when they're not doing that, then maybe they'll try to run some high pick and roll with Steph, which is, I mean, I'm not sure what else they can do in terms of stylistically when the best player in your team is Steph Curry. The decision's simple. It's how much do you put the ball in his hands and how much do you want him to play without the ball? And you kind of figure out that percentage and you kind of go from there.
Let's put it right on the table that I deem a rat. I believe through Moody, Kuminga, and Wiggins, and I'll throw Pods in there, and he couldn't say it, but Monty asked, Steiny, somebody's in somebody's way, right? Do they got too many of the same thing, and is something going to give to where there's a removal of quote-unquote a roadblock of one of these guys in the other's way to get to optimum level? I
mean, to me,
Wiggins and Kuminga, Steiny, it's time, right? They got to know they can't coexist. And for Kuminga to be the best he can be and you break him off some change, he has to be in your starting lineup.
I mean, these are good questions. Yeah. I mean,
I can make the case he's earned that.
Who?
Kuminga. But then I'm just like, there's a lot at play here, man.
Yeah, 888-957-9570. You just heard Mike Dunleavy. I see somebody on the Xfinity Mobile text line. What a discouraging press conference.
Now
looks
you can't
like more
use
of the
that
same.
word. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he said he's disappointed because they didn't make the playoffs.
And he didn't say for the youngsters getting experience, not that he doesn't mean that. He said for the OGs not to be playing on that stage. I kind of wish you'd have threw the youngster, but we know he probably.
Let's go to Anna. Anna's in Florida. What's up, Anna? How you doing? Anna in Florida. No Anna in Florida. 925 on the Xfinity Mobile text line. Do you think Mike Dunleavy thinks we had enough to win a 7-game series? No, or not more than one. I mean, that's the one thing that he said that, well, there was a bunch of stuff he said. One was, we kind of knew the season was going to end in a disappointing
See,
way.
that, I missed that. Wow.
I mean, Mike Dunleavy's been around for years. I mean, he probably got a sense this wasn't a championship team. What are the, if you're a Warrior fan, what are your off-season priorities? I mean, what do you think needs to be addressed? I think obviously, what do we do with Klay Thompson? Is that the number one thing? Is that at the top of your list? Then two, do you have to, what about Wiggins and Kuminga? Do you have to do something with Wiggins or Kuminga?
That's where I'm at.
Then what, so you're,
and you got to get more athletic. But if if one of those dudes is leaving, there goes some of what you need out the door.
Exactly.
Think about that.
Well, that's the issue. Is they want to get more athletic, they want to get younger. So then why would you trade Jonathan Kuminga?
And that's why I brought up system. You may scoff at this. Do you think the system is so complex to where Wiggins and Kuminga are not getting the best out of each other? I just don't. I don't think they could play in any system together. Well, there it is.
I mean, I agree with Steve Kerr. They have too much overlap. The issue is, what can you get for Wiggins? Probably not a lot. He's got almost $80 million left on his deal. He's got 3 more years left with a player option at the end. But here's the problem with Kuminga. Even if you think you're going to move Kuminga, you got to move him with somebody. He only makes $7 million a year. So it's going to be Kuminga and somebody who's got a salary. And then you got to be careful about whether you might attach a draft pick or two to that.
By the way, guys, on the Andrew Wiggins front, this was from Logan Murdoch's piece in The Ringer today. Quote, league sources believe Andrew Wiggins will be included in trade talks this summer as the Warriors look to improve their roster.
Wow.
And my question is, what will Wiggins realistically get you after the last couple of years that he's had? That's
well, it's how you look at it, Steiny. If the glass is half full and Andrew Wiggins mentally is there, you got to be excited. You'd want to pay something for that. But if you think you're going to get the guy that 50-50 and that's where you're like,
well, I'm looking at Wiggins his whole career.
Oh.
I mean, even if you think you're going to get a good Wiggins, you still have to put that in context of who he is.
I got to feel like that's 18 points a game, right?
Well, it is selling low. I mean, he's never had a worse statistical season than this one.
It's absolutely terrible.
The team didn't make the offs.
And, I mean, the one thing that I do allow for, and I probably should throw some names out, but I don't have any right now.
Yeah.
But there's a chance the Warriors could let Klay walk, and they could move Wiggins, and they could acquire a low-level free agent that when they get him will say, big deal. But they might be better.
Like a Dante DiVincenzo.
They might be better. Like, let me just throw this out. And I know DiVincenzo got paid. But if you replace this past year, and I don't even know the answer. Let's say the Warriors did not have Klay Thompson this past year, but they had DiVincenzo. Are they better? Are they worse? Are they the same?
I'm going to say better, Evan. No shade.
Probably better. Yeah, I mean, I think in regards to Wiggins, like one of the reasons the Warriors were able to get Wiggins in the first place was because they dumped Iguodala's salary right before, I think, the pandemic season. So you might look at it as, and then they ended up flipping D'Lo for Wiggins, but they were able to do that because they kept Durant's salary at what it was. So in a way, you might have to attach something, but you could move off of Andrew Wiggins, and then that could set up a big trade with Chris Paul, or maybe there's a sign-in trade somewhere else that they could negotiate. I mean, there is flexibility, but they're obviously going to have to.
But he's saying if you didn't have Clay and you had DiVincenzo, would this team have been better?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that much better.
No, and I don't either. But what I'm getting at is,
wow,
Klay Thompson's a monster name in the Bay Area. He's a monster name. He's our Hall of Famer. Andrew Wiggins, whether we like it or not, he's a big name here in the Bay Area. Helped this team win a title 2 years ago. What I'm getting at is that one of those two guys might not be on the team next year, but you have two guys that maybe we're not as familiar with, but the team could be better with lesser names because they fit better on the team. Well,
and maybe there's less decisions for Kerr to make, and then you don't run into all these rotation problems that everyone was mad about this
That's
year.
the other thing. And I shouldn't use this name, but let's just say hypothetically, like Keon Ellis. I mean, let's say he's a really good player. He's got a long way to go, but I'm talking about more of a guy with his name recognition. Not a lot of people know who Keon Ellis is. And I'm not here to say Keon Ellis is the next great superstar.
Well, we know now.
But all I'm going to say is, like, there are Keon Ellises out there, maybe, that you bring in here, and they fit better, and they're better defensively, and your team becomes better. Like, there's a chance that if Klay Thompson's an 8 out of 10, you might be able to get a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in terms of a player, but they fit better on this team, and their strengths are more of what this team needs that maybe Klay can't provide right now. I mean, they need their two to guard a perimeter player. They right now the Warriors' defensive issues are if they start Steph and Klay in the backcourt, those are two below average defenders. They just
going
are.
at Klay, Stoney. I love Klay. They were going at him.
Exactly.
I watched it again. They were going at him, man.